So, antibiotic resistance, antimicrobial resistance. With the amount of therapies that are circulating out there that have been used over and over and over again, and then a extraordinarily strong virus comes out and wakes everybody's immune system up, of which now they are sharing all the therapies they've ever done in the population. Now you're going to see a antimicrobial resistance. Now, what is an antimicrobial resistance? Well, microbial resistance is antibiotics. What's an antimicrobial resistance? That's like a double negative, right? It's basically anything that tries to destroy something that is just trying to destroy something else. So what does that mean? It means that either you're going to feel the symptoms taking the antibiotics, and it's not going to help because your body developed a resistance against it. The secondary antibodies already bound to those specific antibodies and render them useless, or you'll be exposed to a new entity that your body is going to develop an immunity against at some point, and you still have to feel symptoms. And what is the ultimate intention of anyone out there when it comes to feeling new information, new evolution, new viruses? They're trying to mitigate symptoms. It's not going to fucking happen. You might hold it back a little bit, but remember, you can't be cured in an extremely dynamic environment. And so I was tossing and turning last night, and in and out of sleep. My dog was restless too, but she didn't pee the bed or anything, no seizures or anything, because she's on the other side of it. I fed her some food. She pooped last night. It was great. I pooped this morning like holy crap, literally. And so I was just I was dreaming about antimicrobial resistance, and I was YouTubing antimicrobial resistance. And they're saying, yeah, COVID-19, you're going to find a lot of antimicrobial resistance, meaning that your antibiotics and whatever therapies you're using is not going to work. Whatever your intention is with these therapies, it's not going to work because you're being hit from all sides. You're getting immunized by the public because everybody's therapies are now out there. Your body's taking it in and developing a resistance against it, and then you try to use a therapy against something and you don't know that it's already been out there, it's circulating, your body's taking it on, which I didn't even think about. That's why there's so much antimicrobial resistance, because you are around so many people under so many therapies that you've already been exposed to it. Your body developed a resistance against it, and then when you bring it in, and then your body's like, no, it's not going to work. We've already been privy to the information. When you think about the worlds that live within your body, and they're being exposed to so much information, no different than when you're on the internet and now you were one way and you thought only mainstream, and then someone exposed you to the conspiracy world. Now you're getting exposed to the conspiracy world, and now someone in the conspiracy world is trying to like wow you with new information. You're like, nope, sorry, I already been down that road, got it already figured out, I know what to expect. And so there's nothing new. So they haven't wowed you, shocked you, or did anything for you to give up your money to pay for more information. And that's what also is going on. And that was an awakening last night after I'd been tossing and turning and feeling the heat flush and feeling the rashes. And I tell you, when I looked at my armpit, there's a tiny line of like a red rash. And I knew because my husband saw some stuff on my neck that was like red. It might be still there. I don't know. A little bit reddish. And I know there was something on the side of my nose I was picking off and pulling out. And then the side of my over here, I showed you guys on Facebook, there's like a little bit of a hive that didn't feel anything, but it was just there. And I was like, holy crap. But I do feel the heat. I feel the heat. And also, I haven't eaten extraordinarily much. I eat a little bit, but not like so much where I'm thinking like, oh God, a drop in sugar. But my body holds on to the food until it repairs the stuff. And then all the excess T cells and B cells, and it could be HIV, whatever's holding inside me or whatever I've been exposed to that's out there, my body builds its defense against, and then it needs to come out. Thank God you're eating, right? Because when you're eating and your sphincter and your first and second lines here are so strong that your body's able to release all those excess T cells and B cells that built up against the things that are trying to attack it with the food, with the waste. And that's the release process. That's why it's painful to release sometimes, because those B cells and T cells are screaming on their way out the door. People think there's something wrong with me. Oh yeah, I got a message. I got somebody commenting on my business page to say, no, Jillian, and I said something about, like, you blow your nose like this, and you plug your nose and you blow, you can help you get the poop out, right? You're like, oh my God, who is this chick? And they're like, Jillian, you need a lot of help. Well, no, not really, because so many people are holding so much poop inside that it is blocking evolution. So really, when you think about someone says that I need help, they actually need help, because they're not releasing at the level that they should, which is why they can't handle this new info. And so you have to realize that people are literally evolutionary intellectually blocked from new information. That's why they can't handle this information or want to take it on, because the amount of mucus and poop and T cells and B cells blocking their evolution. And this also happens when your hormones need to work in a specific way because of whatever, and you can't seem to realize that hormone. And I'm talking way around this because I'm not going to go into the very specifics. But until you release those demons, those things will actually stop even certain hormones from releasing. And I can tell, I actually physically can feel when my hormones are blocked from something and when they're able to release. Now you're like, what? That's as far as I'm going to go with that. But when you finally are able to release the demons, then your hormones can be expressed freely without the frustrations, without all the different things that tell you that your hormones are blocked, of which why people take certain drugs to force the hormones open and express. And so you'll even get to that sensitivity level where you understand that when you're exposed to something new that develops so much mucus within your system, so many B cells and T cells trying to block or do whatever, you'll even know when that happens. That's how intelligent you'll become when it comes to your body. So when you know yourself, you will know the world, and it will be insane how much you'll know. And then you'll realize what you're up against. And then you realize how much you've been exposed to so much information. And when you do feel something, whatever things you're going to use to try to stop it, it will be useless, because you've already been exposed to the therapies. The body already developed a resistance against it. See, if you stayed out of the public and you stayed home more than not, you wouldn't really have too much issues. And then you would probably release on your own. You probably understand this information, because people who stay home more than not would understand this information. They get the value of being more sequestered than not. So then you would be more sensitive to anything probiotic, which basically, and antibiotic, like my husband. He's gone, for like 5 days out of the week. And so I get his exposure. And so then I'm sensitive to the new information, but I can feel it. I can take it on and become smarter. And if my intention is to suppress symptoms, and there's antibiotics out there that everyone's used, but they can't seem to gain any kind of benefit from it, I could take benefit from it, but I don't want to take antibiotics. That's no reason for me to do any therapies or any antibiotics. But someone who's already been exposed out there, whether they're heavily therapized in all their direct therapies, or they're circulating within people who are releasing all the therapies ever done, nothing's going to work for them. They're going to try this and try that, but what they'll do is develop a resistance against the food supply, because they'll be trying this and that, and then they'll use food, they'll use elements, they'll use very strong prescription drugs until they won't have any more life left in them. That's what the other side of antimicrobial resistance is. That's why the therapies out there, people say, well, they don't work. Oh, they're working, because they're so rampant. People are not keeping their therapies to themselves, that then people are still going to have to deal with the symptoms. And it'll turn into either they're blowing up, they're gaining weight rapidly, like they're getting bigger, or they are losing intelligence. You can gain intelligence and still not be super extraordinarily smart. But when you have so much intelligence, so much pressure building up, what do you think is going to happen when there's a new variant and you have weak vital organs? That's the no cancer, disease, and chronic illness in the future, when it's going from an atrophy of your first lines and your second lines of defense, And then you're just building up pressure, and there's no cancer, there's no disease, no chronic illness, whatever. And then your body's taking on all the therapies in the world. You're taking on everybody's therapy, regardless of what it is. You still haven't reinforced your vital organs because you don't want to feel pain, and even the food isn't working to your benefit because you developed a resistance against the nutrients in the food supply. Then you go into a crowd of people who have a very extraordinarily energetic virus that will then say, okay, we're going to be so strong that we're going to cause so much kinetic activity in your microbes. Vital organ failure is the thing. There won't be a luxury of cancer. Like I said last night, there won't be a luxury of cancer, disease, or chronic illness. It'll just be, I'm doing great. I'm all therapized by either my doctor or by my friends and family, sharing all their therapies. And so now there's a resistance against it, but you don't know it. And the body is now being cannibalized by the inside, but you don't feel anything because you're under everybody else's therapy. And you're not sensitive to the environment anymore because you have been so integrated with so many therapies that you can't feel shit. And so then when a new virus comes in, it'll just be like, hey, bye, see you later. You're gone. You don't survive the night. And that's why things happen at night, because reparations happen at night. That's when the body reconciles with the day. See, that's why you're supposed to sleep. Sleep also gains intelligence. When people don't sleep or don't sleep well, or they don't value sleep, and they're only living for the day, they're only getting 50% of the possible intelligence in the world. And when they're under the influence, whether it's cannabis or any other drug out there, then it's blocking the intelligence at night. But your body still is going to try to attempt to repair itself. But if there's nothing in the coffers, because you're using so much of your body's proteins to defend it against all the things out there, and you're exposed to therapies, if there's nothing left in the coffers to go and repair, then it's going to start cannibalizing. Where's the line between the reserves and the actual infrastructure? It's a fine line in the body when it doesn't allow the 11 different systems to have clear communication between all the organs. Because you're supposed to have reserves, and you're supposed to have your basic infrastructure of your body and anything advanced on top of that. So that way, when you get exposed to something extraordinary, you have the reserves, so it's not dipping into the principle. What's the principle? It's your main infrastructure plus all the advancements from all the different exposures that your body was able to release, as well as maintain and retain and take on. But what happens when people, like, when financially people will overextend themselves, to where then they have to go into their savings. They have to go into burning the furniture to keep warm. But that's when also the emaciation happens. On the other side of it, there's the obesity and the body falling apart. And so they're gaining so much intelligence that it actually works against them, and it uses so much energy, because then you have to have storage facilities, and you have to have guards and accountants and vendors and merchants to protect all of your intelligence, all of your wealth, right? When people are wealthy, it's not just having a bunch of money. Now you have to put in safety measures so no one's hacking into your bank, no one's coming in and penetrating your lines of defense and trying to rob you. I mean, that's the thing when someone's so wealthy, is that they have to bring in all these energetic defenses that then also drain the bank account if you're not managing that stuff wisely. And then even your defenses cannibalize. People have traitorous protection all the time. There's inside jobs going on. I mean, this is like all the stories in the book can happen in your body at a biophysical level. You can have traitorous microbes in your body that work against it and rob you blind, and you don't even know it unless you go and reconcile in your own accountant sheets. Like, accountants do that all the time. Well, not all accountants, but some accountants will rob their clients. You hear about it all the time. All over, like, the Hollywood and the rich, they're always having to vet out and figure out what's going on with their own staff, because they don't know who the insider or the leak of something is. And so that's the situation that people deal with when they allow things to get like they want to be cured in a dynamic environment like this, especially with COVID. And so that's why when people are like, oh yeah, go get a therapy. Okay. Add more to the mixture, add more of the antibiotic resistance. Okay, fine. It's too much of a good thing. It doesn't become anything great. And so right now we're experiencing too much of a good thing. And how that is not only just the new innovation from biotech that has just been patented and FDA approved, it's also everything people have done that they think is going to be new to them when they do it in their own world, but they've already been exposed again to their friends and family who've already done it. They've already been exposed to that microbe that already had their body develop a resistance against it, and they didn't know it. That's what you get when you hang out in the public, is that you don't get anything beneficial when you need to. Because remember, people want to be cured. They don't want to feel the symptoms. Or you're taking on so much intelligence it's going to work against you and you won't have cancer. So people think this is so great. I don't feel anything. This is great, and then they don't wake up. And that's like, holy shit. That's the scary thing when you don't get the luxury of cancer or symptoms. That's a very scary thing when you're taking on intelligence and the pressure is building. The pressure builds, and you have to release the pressure. But people don't want to release the pressure because if they release the pressure, they know they release the floodgates and Pandora's box will emerge. And that will be not just the little pressure of releasing the pressure and thinking that's going to buy them time. Then they have to go through the list of things that they've ever ran away from in the medical holistic system, as well as whatever they've done in their life as far as illicit drugs and alcohol and other stuff. And that is, wow, that is like so allegory, but it's not. It's a true story. That's reality. So trust when they say there won't be cancer and disease or even aging in the future. It doesn't mean that you're going to live forever. It just means that you will just be turned on one day and turned off the next day. Just introduce a new virus and people don't survive. So we have new kids, right? We have kids that are CRISPR gene edited and they've been edified to this environment. They've been exposed to all the viruses that you're ever hearing about. And they're also in their homogenized environments or homogenized zones with their power elite and they're behind their gated community, only with people who have been heavily therapized, not producing any symptoms. And so they'll be okay. They'll be on social media. They look beautiful. They look great. They look gorgeous, and they're selling their real estate or selling things left and right and influencing you, making you buy stuff. And then maybe in the next 20 years, they're gone. So they were put on this earth to influence the population. And then you're like, well, what happened to Johnny and Susie? And they had a rare form of this, or they just didn't wake up from that. And so they were there, to produce a fashion line or a kids line, or they were in some sitcom, or who knows what, some influencer. They were into astrophysics, they were an astrophysicist at 12. And so everyone's like, oh my God. And they're making money the hand over fist, and they have like 50,000 followers. And the kids out there are like, oh, I want to be just like this person. And so they were put on this earth for a certain amount of time. And then when all the therapies that they're under, all the different things, the bioengineering couldn't withstand the environmental infrastructure, and whoever's looking after them knows, because they see certain indicators, certain things breaking down. But it doesn't turn into cancer, just certain things breaking down. And then it'll just take that one microbe to turn them off. And so it'll be more than just powering down. It'll be just straight up glitch gone. So that's what you're looking forward to. That's what we're looking forward to in the future. So you better, if you want to see what it's going to be like in the future, or you just want to live out this lifetime and go out with a bang and you won't know when it is, hey, you have two choices. The more that you say, okay, well, I'll wait in a couple years and I'll make all this money and then I will go and reconcile with whatever's inside of me. You don't know how bad you have it. You don't know how bad you have it inside. And so the more that you wait to reconcile, the more you're taking on that you're going to have to deal with. Okay? And that's called gambling. That's seriously called gambling. And so, it's one of those where we're going to have 99.9% of the world that are already were part of the old world. They're going to live out their life. They'll go out with a bang. They will be able to lead in a dignified way. because they couldn't possibly take on this information of what I'm doing, which means you have to get used to symptoms. You have to get used to releasing mucus. Ricky Rodriguez yesterday was saying, oh yeah, I'm releasing a lot of mucus. Absolutely. Then you have to also understand your sphincter, the sphinx. That's why the Anunnaki, the anus knocking the anus, whatever. It's part of your body. There is an intelligence with releasing all those demons, because it's not, because you have the 9 circles of hell, the sphincters, all those different muscles that lock things inside. And some people have poop full of T cells and B cells that are working against them, locked within a chamber of their colon, and they can't release it. And that's working against them. That is their lifespan, when they have so many of those things locked up in their body, and it's sending crazy messages. And so if you wonder who the Anunnaki are, they're the ones that understand. And then we don't know if it's been XX or XYXY, XXXX or XYXY. And did man and did humans come from man, or did humans come from woman, or did humans come from man and woman, or did humans come from man and woman? We don't even know that. There's so many stories out there that can be converted once you understand the alphanumeric evolution, and then the creation within evolution. And then evolution and creation can also be conjoined and work side by side together. And so we're entering in from an old simulation of everything so linear and evolutionary, from the Genesis all the way to the New Testament, to now where, okay, we can still keep a very basic platform of formulas and physics laws, but things can also evolve. They can and change. What we thought we knew back then can also, it doesn't have to be. It can change. Maybe it wasn't what it was we thought. I mean, anything is possible if you understand that anything can be converted into whatever. Stories can be converted. People can be converted. Everything can be converted, but it must be something that you allow. And if you're resistant to conversion, if someone introduces you information that is going to prolong your life, meaning that you have to feel symptoms, you can't hold that stuff in, and you're resistant to that, and you're like, oh, hey, I want to be rich, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to enjoy everything out there. Okay, fine. You will have that opportunity to live it out, but for how long? You'll never know. It could be tomorrow where things end. If you don't preempt and get in front of whatever it is that you're not wanting to deal with, you won't know what crowd of people are going to be your last crowd of people. And you'll be in that crowd, and then it will be the next morning where you don't wake up. That's the crazy thing. Because I could hang out with anyone, and I won't suffer a heart attack right then and there, or any kind of symptoms. But when I come home at night, and if I was at a deficit, and I couldn't get past all the mucus coming up, because I did wake up a few times the last couple weeks where I felt like I was drowning in my own mucus. That is a scary thing to experience, where you feel like you're drowning in your mucus, where you have to cough. If your coughing mechanism has been suppressed because it's been atrophied by all the medications, then yeah, people drown in their own mucus because they don't have enough strength to cough it out. Okay, that's the scary side of it. And I've experienced it all around this whole COVID. So I know exactly what people are dealing with, what they're running away from, and what they're going to deal with at some point if they don't get in front of it. That's how you know how predictable wave-like particles are. It's just like with Newton's law of motion. Okay, what's in motion stays in motion. What's at rest stays at rest. Force equals matter times acceleration. And then for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Oh yes, you have to understand physics laws to understand what's going on here. And then you're like, holy shit, if you keep going the way you're going, you're going to have a predictable result in a dynamic environment. Energy is just energy. And then there's also the plus and minus, the covalent and the ionic, and cation and ion and all this stuff, and we're anion, yeah. And so then you realize how this world works, and you can explain it in formulas and numbers, and also explain it in the English language. Okay. What is that called? Something expression. Expanded notation, where you're writing out the numbers in English letters, and you have PEMDAS, the order of operations. Okay? And that also is not just in math and physics and chemistry, it's also in the hospital system. There's an order of operations, but at some point between parentheses and subtraction, you can change any course, any direction. So yeah, you may see the hospital between, the nursery and ambulatory, and then you realize that you don't want to go down ambulatory and then also end up somewhere near palliative care. So you get out of the medical system, you stop doing the therapies, and you realize that you have to deal with all your predispositions. You have to cough, you have to eat food, you have to blow your nose, you have to get the poop out without losing intelligence. And then you can redirect yourself out of an order of operations that ends up in hospice. But that would take someone who can sit with themselves and take on the intelligence and deal with the pain. I'm telling you, the magic is in the pain. The magic is in the symptoms. That's where it all happens. You can be programmed by the system and have specific characteristics that everyone's accepted. Oh, people love the humorous people. People love all the love, and they love all the hate. Oh, I see it in my Jelly Juice crowd. Hate, love. Depression, anxiety. Happy. Oh, it's time to be happy. Happy is, what's opposite of happy is sadness. So then the fear of being sad forces you then to be happy when you're not really happy, but now you're putting on a front and you're really dying inside. And so people don't know they're dying inside because they're putting on a front, they're putting band-aids, they're getting lost in all the distractions and playing with their hormones. And then they're cannibalized by the lack of resolving their demons because they had to put on a front. They're happy. You're not fucking happy. You're chasing an illusion because there's so many things inside that are working against you that you have no choice but to put on a fucking front. And it's sad to watch, but people are what they are. You can't stop them. You can't say anything. Who are you to say they're not happy? If they're happy, if they say they're happy. Yeah, watch people say. But when you're pursuing happiness, love, and pursuing hatred, then you'll have the fear of the opposite coming. Okay, you'll have that fear of the opposite. And then you'll get lost in the things that'll keep that facade going until Mother Nature, the devil, takes its due. And that's the spiritual side of what's going on with this warfare. So the whole Georgia Guidestones is about innovating people through conflict. Every single piece of probiotic and antibiotic that you're exposed to, laced with the therapies, is an edification. It is intelligence. It is something that you can work with if you understand how to respond to it. And so right now, you are actively being upgraded. No different than when the hominids, back when it was the Neanderthals or the Homo habilis, Homo floresiensis, Homo erectus, when they were given, they were exposed to people who had intelligence, microbial intelligence, and even written intelligence. They were given intelligence and they were edified by the new entities that came into the world. And yeah, it's like a war of the world. I watched a little bit last night of Tom Cruise's War of the World. And it started off in the microbial scene. And then it ended up where it was just these monsters that were like attacking. Okay. And so, yeah, you see the evolution of mankind because it was given innovation at the biochemical level. And there was conflict. That was the rise and fall of civilizations. Those were the innovation, the edification of societies. And there were still people that survived it. And they were able to be more intelligent. And that's why we were able to see the different periods, the Golden Age, the Renaissance and the medieval and all the different parts of human history that showed how caveman we can be and how evil we can also be and aggressive, but also using human experiments and understanding when you have this much conflict, how much innovation can they get out of someone? And if they survive the conflict, then they've gotten stronger. And if they don't, they're weak. And then you see out there people who are taking on the conflict and they're strong, but they're building up pressure. And so there's a way where, that's why with the whole JJ meta mentality is that, yes, you're building up pressure. That's why you see me, my face and my body maybe get a little bit more big, a little bit bigger. When I get exposed to new intelligence, that's the pressure. That's the pressure building. And then I release the pressure by blowing my nose. By working the sphincter and getting the poop out, I release the pressure. So that way I can still take on the intelligence without the intelligence working against me. But people don't get that. They use biotech to go then when they feel the pressure of stuff to go and manipulate their hormones to stop the pressure. But that again is going to work against them because you develop a resistance against it. And the body will then again build up pressure. And there won't be anything you can take to stop the pressure from building because you've been exposed to all the therapies from your friends and family through their mucus. And then now you are left with having to deal with shit, literally, or pass away. That's the craziness of it all. That's holy crap. And so just realize that we are in a major transition of extraordinarily human intelligence. And you have the chance to become extremely intelligent. Yeah, you might have to change your lifestyle. You may even have to change your belief systems. You may even have to not be so money hungry, because when you're so money hungry, you have to be the example, because when you're sitting at home and everyone else is working out there, then you got to figure out, well, how are you going to do this? Then you know that you'll be one of those that have to exploit the workers. Here, do this. I'll pay you a bunch of money to sacrifice yourself. Literally. Because for you to work out there in the public, you have to be cured. Or you'll be constantly getting everyone's microbes and be sick. And so and that's what the power elite understand too. They know we need infrastructure. That's why they don't say everything. That's why they don't say a lot of stuff. The people in biotech who are heads of these Fortune million companies, they know kind of what's going on, but are they going to tell their stockholders? Are they going to tell the layperson? Well, we know how aggressive this is, and we'll try to provide you all the therapies to help you through it. But again, antimicrobial resistance is huge when everyone is spitting out everything they've ever done. And so, you're going to have to figure out, yeah, I guess if you need all this money, you will have to sacrifice people around you. That's why greed was okay for a minute, because we were okay with the rate of death and the rate of life. But now it's becoming really in your face how aggressive. And can you give people choices without them being like, well, I want to be like you? Well, I don't know. You'll figure that out. You will figure out how you still make money and survive and use people around you without you exploiting them, but you give them a choice and a chance. But you pay them well because you know what they're up against. And that's what the system is doing, is paying those very well, maybe, that are on the front lines, exposed to everybody. And if you're not being paid well for being on the front lines, then you better go find a job that will pay you well, because at some point the rubber will meet the road, and most people will either die off or they won't want to work in the public because of now they're seeing the patterns. If they're even that aware of the patterns, they may not be. But employers are going to have to get savvy with what's going on and start paying people very well, because they're sacrificing their life for you. Literally, they are. All right, bye.